today's video, I'm going to attempt to rank every single Fortnite season in a tier list fashion. Let's get right into it. Before we get started, I do want to actually clarify what I'm going to be ranking them on. So I think first, the most important thing, the fun factor. Was the season fun to play? Did this season have me, running home from school, ready to get on and play for hours and not do any homework type thing? You know what I'm saying? And also, I think the battle pass is another thing I'm going to be looking at. I think that's a big part that a lot of people take part in a new season, is the new battle pass. So those two things, I'm not really taking into consideration lore too much because it did kind of die out in the last two chapters, but mainly fun factor, battle pass, map as well is part of that. So I hope that kind of clears things up going forward. So first we have season 2. This is where a lot of people started to play. And this is where the game really started to pick up traction. Now, obviously, we'll see more of that with Season 3 and Season 4, but right here is the introduction of the Battle Pass, which to me really puts this season ahead, and you can't really rank it badly because it kind of started everything. You had the first ever Christmas update, you had the, you had your first ever Battle Pass, a Black Knight, still one of the best tier 100 skins, and the map was really clean. The map was good, and so overall, I think this was a great season. I don't think it's the best season of all time, and I think it's better than decent. So in my opinion, this is a solid season. So next we have season 3, and again, I think this season lives super fondly in the heads of a lot of Fortnite players, including myself. I think a lot of people were having fun at this time. The game was picking up even more steam than it had in season 2. We had the introduction of, I know vending machines were in season 3. John Wick, obviously, super solid tier 100 skin. And I believe LTMs were introduced in season 3. Could have been season 2, but I believe teams of 20, I think, was introduced in season 3. And yeah, I think the gameplay was super crisp here. And honestly, season 3 is either solid or god tier. I would actually probably put it above season 2. I think most of my friends actually started putting it in, started playing at this time. So I would actually put it in god tier. And now we come to season 4. And in my opinion, this is Fortnite's peak. I think this is the best, personally, the game has ever been. But with that being said, I don't actually think it's the best season of all time, and I will get into that later. But again, in this season, this is where the lore started to pick up, and I think a lot of people, including myself, really started to have a feel for this game that was now coming into, not just a game anymore, not just a shooter. It was now a shooter with lore behind it, and what was happening in the storyline was affecting the map. And I think of Moisey Myers specifically. Like, I know it's kind of out of the way, but I think about it as having such a bad drop, and then it turned into the movie set, and it was so cool in my opinion. Just stuff like that. I know the Hop Rocks were introduced. The Battle Pass was super solid. Carbide, Omega, the whole Hero Battle Pass, and again, we will see another Hero Battle Pass in a little bit. But yeah, so personally, I think the loot pool was great. Pumps were amazing. And as well as this, I think you have to consider the fact of the secret skin at the time, right, with the Visitor. That was brand new, and that was super exciting at the time. And also the rocket launch event, the first ever live event that set the standard for so many going forward. And now I think a lot of people see it as kind of rudimentary and kind of mediocre, but at the time, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. It was an incredible live event. It was groundbreaking, and it truly was in the gaming sphere. So I think that definitely has to be noted when you're talking about this season as a whole. Honestly, this is close to the best season of all time, but in my opinion, it just takes the top of god tier. So next we're going to get into season 5, and this season I do hold kind of close to my heart. Actually, my favorite gun of all time, the Heavy Sniper, was introduced in this season. This season also had great mobility. I think off the top of my head, rift to goes, right? Shockwave grenades, ATKs, right? The first real vehicle. Obviously, you can consider shopping carts in that conversation, which would have been season 4 last season, but still, I do think of this season very fondly. I do love Paradise Palms. That was such a good addition to the game, and I'm so glad it's back. Currently, again, when we talk about Battle Pass, super solid. Drift, Ragnarok right away, probably top 5 in their respective categories, tier 1 and tier 100. Super great. Secret skin lacked a lot. Enforcer was not great, and my only gripe with this season that, in my opinion, really holds it back is actually the spray meta. The spray meta this season was really bad with the P90, the drum gun, and the SMG. I think it was just a little too overdone. I know the P90 was super broken when it came out, and I think people kind of forget about that when they look at these old seasons. Like, I think people kind of look back on it with rose-tinted glasses, and that's okay, and that's totally normal. Those seasons were outstanding, but I think the spray meta was just a little too much this season. I do remember the drum gun being absolutely broken at launch, and it did take a little bit to fix. And so just for that reason alone, look, there's so many seasons, I kind of have to be strict with it. Just for that reason alone, it's going to go down to solid season instead of god tier. So going into season 6 now, and in my opinion, this is the worst of the seasons that we've seen so far. Personally, I really was not a fan of the meta that we saw during this season. I did not like the Halloween event at all, although it did bring some pretty cool skins. I did not like the Halloween event at all, and I think that this season actually kind of turned a lot of people away, right, from the game. I think at this point you saw some of your OG friends probably kind of stop playing for a little bit. And I will say, I just felt like this season had a lot of junk in it. I felt like, you know, C4, quad launchers, like off the top of my head, dynamite, porta-fortress, just all this type of stuff that I just kind of felt like was kind of junk. And I actually felt this way with the OG season that we're currently playing right now. I just didn't enjoy this week of content versus the other weeks of content, you know, season 7, season 5, those types of things. I also didn't really like the unvaulting event that much. I felt like it was kind of lackluster, and they brought the drum gun back, but it was so nerfed that it really didn't make a difference. I will say 2 of the best things in Fortnite history did come out of this season, the Spaz and the Quad Crasher, so I will give them that. And when we look at the Battle Pass, I think that this Battle Pass was very mid, actually. I think Calamity should have been the tier 100. She was the best skin in the game, or in the Battle Pass. And then the tier 100 Dire was not good at all, actually, in my bottom 5 tier 100s of all time. But with that being said, it was still a fun season to play. I'll give it that. Anytime you're going to be on that OG map, you know, that obviously has some part of it, but I really feel like I didn't have as much fun playing this season as I did in the previous season. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in decent tier. All right, season 7. Now, when I talk about seasons that I hold super, super highly, season 7 is one of them. This season, in my opinion, was fantastic. I just think Fortnite with snow and around Christmas time is such a good time. You know, I think everyone's kind of happy, everyone's having a good time, and I felt like this season was really, really solid. Now, I won't ignore the flaws, right? I know planes kind of plagued this season for a little bit. I do know the Infinity Sword, or is that what it was called? I don't know. Anyways, that sword was a disaster. Should have never been in the game. I remember watching the tournament that they added it in. It was an absolute disaster. Should have never been in the game, period. But other than that, no, I think the Battle Pass was super solid. Tier 1, I believe, was Zenith, I believe. Not a good Tier 1, but Ice King kind of makes up for it in the tier 100. I just love the vibes that this season brings, and again, like I previously mentioned, I've found myself having so much more fun playing on this season versus the other ones, and just for me personally, I know this is my own list, this is a god tier season. I absolutely love the season. I love the meta all the way. I love the Christmas Battle Pass as well. So yeah, it's gonna go in god tier. So season 8, and this is another really interesting one actually, because I actually wasn't a fan of this season originally when I played it, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, but now looking back on it, it actually brought a lot of super important changes to Fortnite and how we see Fortnite today that actually make me feel a little more fond about this season. First of all, this was the introduction of ranked. This is when, not ranked like we know it today, but it was arena at the time, and this was a super, super big addition to Fortnite. People were looking for a competitive option to play instead of just pub stomping all day, and this was obviously a super big deal at the time. And 2 was reboot vans. Reboot vans were actually added this season, and again, Fortnite, direct competitor with Apex, I think they kind of took that from Apex, and I'm glad they did, because reboot vans are, in my opinion, one of the most important things in the game. It wasn't like you got killed off spawn and you had to sit there for 30 minutes and watch the rest of your team play. They added reboot vans, and for me, those two things are just so key. I think the new POIs they added were pretty good. I thought Lazy Lake was okay. I wasn't a fan of the entire jungle biome as a whole. Battle Pass wise, I felt like the Battle Pass was okay. It was lacking a little bit. Tier 1 was good. I believe it was Blackheart, and then Tier 100 was Lux, which was not great. And as you can tell, I kind of ranked the Battle Passes based on their Tier 1s and then their Tier 100s, because obviously I think those are the two skins that people care about the most. A lot of times the middle is just kind of filler. Ballers, I felt, were okay. They were a little too much at the time. Then obviously later on they brought them back, nerfed the health, did what they needed to do to them. I like the meta this season a lot, and I actually, originally, if you were asking me a couple years ago, I would have put this season in mid. But actually, I do think that this is a decent season. And it might, and I know some people might even think it's a solid season. For me, it's a decent season though. So, Season 9 comes up next, and this is a really interesting season, because I actually feel like this season wasn't that good, but what I will say, and the big strength of this season that I can give it, is it has a total sense of identity, right? This season was futuristic. When I hear this season, I think of Neo Tilted, Mega Mall, OP Combat Shotgun on launch, and TAC AR. Like, every time I hear Season 9, those are the four things that I think about. I think about that opening cutscene, right, with Jonesy and Peely. It's such a cool opening cutscene, and then I think about the final showdown, right? Like, in my opinion, the best live event there has ever been, at least lore related, not concert related. It was such a good final event, but stemming kind of away from that and more towards gameplay, I didn't think the gameplay was that good. The combat shotgun was running absolutely rampant this season. Some people might have liked it. I thought it was absolutely broken and really cheesy. I will give it slipstreams. Mobility was fantastic this season. The map looked good. I got to give it to him. The map looked good. I like the futuristic look of Neo Tilted. Now, I would actually prefer regular Tilted. I think Tilted played better than Neo Tilted. There's a reason why Neo Tilted and Mega Mall haven't come back. But this season tried to innovate. They got super creative with this. I think storm flips were added here, which is obviously a cool idea that never really came to its full fruition. But I will say a super weak point of the season, the Battle Pass. I thought the Battle Pass sucked this season. Just totally forget about those skins. I don't run those skins ever. I can't even name every single skin in that Battle Pass. I just totally forget it. And so obviously they had a strong sense of identity, but again, I think it lacked kind of in the gameplay side a little bit. And honestly, I would probably give Season 9 a mid-tier. So, Season X, and here we go. I always, there's like always a cult fan club of people whenever I make a Season X video, absolutely destroying this season, that absolutely love this season and swear that this was the best season of all time and would have been great if it wasn't for that little thing called mechs. Mechs ran this season, absolutely destroyed this season, and I would agree with people by saying if there were no mechs, this would have been a great season. I love what they did. They brought all the zones back. I know you had retail and paradise, and they brought them back with a little twist to it. Obviously, everyone knows Taco Time and Greasy. That's kind of the big one, the funny one. But again, mechs, you can't get around it. If you watch any gameplay from this season, it's just mechs stomping on people and going from person to person to person, and it just totally ruined the game. I love what they did with remixing the Battle Pass skins. I thought this Battle Pass is top tier. I thought it was great. I loved it, and I still love those skins from this season, but I can't get around the fact of mechs. It was really bad. It pushed so many people away from this season. It totally ruined any competitive integrity that Fortnite had, and you can see I get fired up just talking about it because I remember playing at the time and being so miserable trying to play this season with mechs. So again, if you've been listening, obviously you know I'm not a fan of this season, and this will go into trash tier for sure. And now the script kind of flips, because now we drop the OG map and go into Chapter 2. And Chapter 2, for a lot of people, is a lot of people started playing, and a lot of people picked up the game in Chapter 2. And I kind of have mixed opinions on this season, because on one side of things, I feel like this season was a real breath of fresh air. The map was so cluttered. There was so much junk that was in Season X, and to just get rid of all that, start fresh, new weapon models, new art design, new UI, new everything, felt really, really clean. And the hype they built around this season with the end event was unbelievable. I know everybody that I was talking to at the time could not wait to play this season, and it was fun for about a month. And in my opinion, this is where they lost everybody. They did not update this season. I don't know if you guys played at this time. If you do, you know there was only one update to this season. There was one update. I remember at the beginning, they removed like gray and green rocket launchers, and then they added harpoon guns like 2 months into this season. That's it. That's literally all they did the entire season, and this season got stale quick. And so, I think with the innovation they had, it was great, but then they didn't kind of build upon it. And so, in my opinion, this goes into just kind of a mid-tier. I think it's just kind of a mid-season when I look back on it. But, of course, they knew what they were cooking when they weren't updating everything because they were working on the next season, which I will get into. So, Chapter 2, Season 2, where do I even start? In my opinion, I'm going to go straight off the bat. This is the best season of all time. Obviously, there was something going on at the time in the world, which I can't say, or YouTube will strike my video, but everybody was playing this season. This is Fortnite's second prime, in my opinion. I remember playing this game in class. I had my teacher on my computer on Zoom, and then I was playing Fortnite with my buddies who were also in the same class. It was such a weird time, for gaming in general, because everybody was playing. But besides that, this season was unbelievable. Now, I know people will argue against the Mythics, Midas's drum gun, Brutus's minigun, the Scar, the unlimited grappler. Yes, they were all absolutely busted and broken, and I pray that they never return. But you can't deny that when you had one of those weapons, you were unstoppable, and that was a great feeling because for me, it put a different strategy into the game. The strategy didn't become, winning the game. It became trying your best to get those mythics and put yourself in the best spot possible to win the game. It added a challenge within the game. I know me and my boys would always drop retail, and then we'd go straight to Grotto to try and get the minigun. It was just such a cool time of Fortnite. I feel like they haven't been able to replicate that. And again, Battle Pass, Midas, in my opinion, he is a top 3 tier 100 of all time. This season had such a strong identity with the spies, and Deadpool, of course, came into it. I just look back so fondly onto this season, and in my opinion, it is by far the best season of Fortnite of all time. Chapter 2, Season 3. Now, this was a season that I think a lot of people were super excited for, especially coming off the back of a absolutely magnificent season, right? And I don't think it lived up to the hype at all. I know a lot of people kind of look back on this in a different light than I do. I look back on it, I did not like the flooded map at all. I get what they were trying to do. I didn't like it at all. The new POIs they added, the Fortilla, personally, I was not a fan of. I know a lot of people are. I was not personally. And the charged shotgun, this was the big thing. I remember this. They vaulted the pump. That was the huge deal. They got rid of the pump shotgun, which at the time had never left the game. Right now, it's like they take it out every season. They add it back the next season. But at this point, this was a huge deal. They vaulted the pump shotgun. It was a massive deal. And they added the charge. Personally, I'm not a fan of the charge. Cypher PK, I know, is god tier with that gun, and if you want to learn how to use a charged shotgun, go watch that guy play, because that is how you use the charged shotgun. And there's such a learning curve to the gun that personally I just never liked it, but I know a lot of people did. Battle Pass, in my opinion, super forgettable. I don't really look back on this Battle Pass with any good memories at all. I think it's kind of fun. I mean, Aquaman, okay, whatever. I thought that it was just kind of mid. And again, I just thought this whole season was just kind of mid. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was terrible. So again, for me, this is going to go in the mid tier, just kind of right in the middle. Not a great season, but not a terrible one either. All right, Chapter 2, Season 4. This is, right off the bat, I'm just going to say it, this is a god tier season. This season was unbelievable. Now, I'm gonna shorten kind of these last couple seasons, these last 10, 15 seasons, just so I don't make this video an hour long, of course. but this season was unbelievable. The whole Stark Industry update, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best updates in Fortnite history. That update was unbelievable. All the new mythics they added with all the superheroes was unbelievable. All their abilities, it was just so cool, so unique. All the new skins. And I know some people don't like the fact that the entire season was a collab season, right? And personally, I'm not even the biggest Marvel fan, but I really enjoyed this season. I think they nailed it on the head, and this is how you do a collab season. I think they kind of lost that going forward with just making the tier 100s collabs, and people don't really like that. People, if you're gonna do it, go all the way. And in my opinion, that is how they did it in this season. They did it perfectly. This is a god tier season, no doubt about it. When I think of Chapter 2, Season 5, literally the only thing that comes to my mind is Man Cake. It's like the only thing that I remember from this season. Now, I know you had the Coliseum. I think about the sand a lot. But other than that, I feel like this season really lacked identity. I know it was kind of the whole bounty hunter theme that they were going for, but personally, it didn't really hit the mark with me. And I thought the gameplay was okay. They added the Dragon's Breath shotgun. I remember that being in this season. But personally, this season just did not hit the mark. And honestly, I would go as far as to say that this is just a mid-season in general. The worst season of all time. Here it is. Chapter 2, Season 6, the Primal Season. This season was terrible. I hated it. I get they were trying to innovate. I get it. I totally understand what they were trying to do. They totally switched the game up. They got rid of all the loophole, added an entire new one. For some people, that might have been it. For me, it was a total disaster. I actually quit playing Fortnite for this season for the first time in my entire life. I stopped playing Fortnite since the game had been out. This season was a total disaster. It did not hit with me at all. And personally, I'm going to put it in the never played. I played it and I still hated that much. So it's going to go into never played. Chapter 2, Season 7. I actually really enjoyed this season. I know some people look back on it with the kind of looking at the UFOs and kind of how broken they were. They were nowhere near as broken as mechs, but they definitely were really annoying. But what I liked that they did this time is they added something broken. Yes, UFOs were broken. Let's not spin it any other way. They were broken. But they added a hard counter, an immediate counter to it, and that was the railgun, one of my favorite guns of all time. I love sniper rifles, and I felt like the railgun was such a perfect gun. And you could hard counter UFOs. If you had 2 kids with railguns, that UFO was done right away. And so I think that kind of neutralized that, and they realized the mistake they had made with mechs. Back in Season X, there was no way to counter mechs, but now they had added a UFO, and you could counter it right away. I actually really like this season. I like what they did with it. The whole Rick and Morty collab, Rick being the tier 100, I believe he was at the time, was fantastic. By the way, this season had some of the best super styles of all time. Just in general, I look back on this season, and I had a really good time, and it was actually kind of a really good bounce back from, of course, what I think is the worst season of all time. So I will actually put this in probably decent. It's definitely above mid, but it's not above decent. So I'm going to put it in decent. Chapter 2, Season 8. I'll be straight up with you. I did not play this season. I think I played this season for a week. Just was not feeling it at all. I cannot talk on this season at all. I barely played it. I'm just going to put it in never played. You guys can tell me how it was in the comment section. I'll go down there. I read all the comments. So let me know how the season was, because I literally did not play it at all. All right, so Chapter 3, Season 1. Now, this is where we flip the page again, right? So we had gone from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, and now we were going Chapter 2 to Chapter 3. And, this season actually really brought me, and I think a lot of other people, back to Fortnite. This was kind of a big deal this season at the time. And in my opinion, you can attribute that solely to the Spider-Man Mythic. Now, I know some people didn't like it, and it was a third-party machine, and if you got someone weak, they would just leave with it. I get it. But there's no denying that that made the game fun. And it really did. I thought that the loot pool was really good. I know the Stinger was a little bit broken, okay, but Striker Pump, Stinger, it was a good combo. I got to give it to him. Let's not forget the MK7, I believe, was introduced this season. Probably my favorite AR of all time. I've always been an FPS guy. previous to Fortnite. I still play FPS games, obviously, but so when they added a red dot, you know, going into first person instead of third person, I felt like I was unstoppable with that gun, and no doubt it was broken, but it was so fun to use. So yeah, I think this season was actually really good, and I would actually go as far as to put it in a solid season. Now, I do think the battle pass was a little lackluster. I know obviously you had Spider-Man in there, but still, yeah, I would give this a solid season. I do think it was a really good season. All right, Chapter 3, Season 2, and I'll be frank, I just did not play this season. I don't really know why or remember why I didn't play this season, because I do remember having a really good time in Chapter 3, Season 1. But again, I'll be flat out honest with you, I did not play this season, so I will put it in never played. Let me know how it was down in the comments. I will be sure to get back to you guys. All right, Chapter 3, Season 3. This is kind of a weird one because I didn't feel like it was that great of a season. Personally, I really did not enjoy it that much until they released my favorite shotgun of all time, the Prime Shotgun. I thought that gun was insane. I wish they would bring it back. It was such a fun gun to use. It was so satisfying. And to me, that in and of itself is the redeeming factor this season, because before that, trust me, I was not using the two-shot. Some people will our two-shot stands and will say that was the best shotgun ever. I hated the two-shot. I couldn't get behind it. And again, I'm trying to keep these kind of shorter so I can get through this video. So this video is not an absolute mammoth of a video. So I'll keep it brief. I thought that Spider-Gwen was an unbelievable battle pass skin, but other than that, I don't really remember much from the season. I don't remember it being too great, and obviously it wasn't that long ago, so if I don't remember it, it couldn't have been that good. So I think it's just kind of a mid-season. Chapter 3, Season 4, and I'll be honest with you right away, I'm going to put it in the trash tier. I did not like this season at all. I didn't like the chrome. I thought it was super cheesy. I just didn't understand what they were going for by just making everything chrome. To me, it just really didn't make any sense at all. And of course, a bad taste was left in my mouth in this season because of the live event. The live event this season was awful. I don't know if anybody remembers it. It was like the open world style like final event they did. I don't know. I thought it was a total mess. Battle pass, totally forgettable. I don't remember anything from this battle pass. I did not like it personally at all, and this season, in my opinion, is trash. So, Chapter 4. Now we turn another page and go into a chapter that I think has been kind of divisive so far. I will say, I do think they nailed it on the head with this season. I don't think the map was that great. I personally have never been a big fan of the Chapter 4 map, except for the one we have now, of course. But I do think that they had the right idea here. The Thunder Shotgun, one of my favorite shotguns of all time. Super good. They added Excalibur. Remember, that was a super sick addition to the game. Faulty Splits, shout out Faulty Splits. Probably a top 5 drop of all time for me. Loved Faulty Splits. It's my favorite drops. And then the Shockwave Hammer. You can't talk about this season without reminding yourself about the Shockwave Hammer. Thing was absolutely broken. You had to have the Shockwave Hammer if you were going to win a game in this season, and that's just how it was. And that's how it was whenever the hammer was in the season, or whenever the hammer was in the game. If you had the hammer, you were winning, and I thought that I actually really enjoyed the hammer. I thought it was really fun. I know it could have been annoying sometimes, but I thought it was really fun. And actually, this is a solid season. I'll give it to them. I think this was a really solid season. The Ageless, shout out my guy, one of the best tier 100s out there, 100%. So yeah, I will give it a solid season ranking. All right, Chapter 4, Season 2. This was Havoc Pump and Mega City. That's what I remember when I think about these two. Mega City was a super cool POI. I actually do have a lot of fond memories playing this season. Again, this is when I felt like the battle passes just started to get really lackluster. I just didn't care for this battle pass at all, and you'll see that. Obviously, you've seen that with the past couple seasons, but definitely with the next couple seasons, I just didn't care for the battle pass at all. I felt like it kind of lost its charm. I will say, Havoc Pump Shotgun. If you had the mythic Havoc Pump Shotgun, you were untouchable. That thing is the best shotgun of all time. It's better than a Spaz. The mythic Havoc Shotgun was really unbeatable. The Katana I think of when I think of this season. Great mobility Katana was. I wish they would bring it back. It was really balanced in my opinion. I thought it was a super good weapon. But in general, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a huge fan of the map at the time, but that's just kind of more of a Chapter 4 thing rather than just this specific season thing. But overall, I thought that the meta was actually pretty good. And honestly, I thought that this was a pretty decent season. I think it'll go in the decent tier. Chapter 4, Season 3. Now, I'm just going to tell it right away. I thought that this was a trash season. it did have its redeeming qualities, and I will give it that. They changed up a lot of the map. The Mammoth Pistol, my buddy was unbelievable with that gun. If you were good with that gun, you were just going to destroy everybody. But I remember constantly getting destroyed by that gun, and it pissed me off so much. I hate the Mammoth Pistol, but I can't deny that it was good, and if you were skillful, you were going to be good with that specific weapon. But looking kind of aside from that, I didn't like the new jungle biome. I know I had mentioned previously, I actually failed to mention previously, Ranked came out in Chapter 4 Season 2, and that was a big deal. I played a lot of Ranked in Chapter 4 Season 3, but personally, the season just never stuck with me, and I didn't like the new additions to the weapons. I just didn't like what they did. I feel like they tried to go to the Primal again, and again, I think they kind of missed the mark on it. I think this was really just a trash season. Alright, Chapter 4, Season 4, so the most recent season, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't play a lot of this season. It just didn't really hit for me. I kind of see that there's mixed opinions on this season, but personally, I really didn't play it a lot. I'm actually going to put it in never played. I played a little bit. I thought it was okay, nothing special, but I didn't play it enough to fully give it a rank on this list. So I'm just going to put it in never played. Again, please let me know how it was in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on it. All right, the final season, the current one that we are on as of recording this video, Chapter 4, Season 5. I can't even believe it's not its own chapter, but Season OG. Man, you know, if you want to hear my thoughts on this season, check out my previous video where I kind of go more in depth about it. But this season is a absolute hit. They know exactly what they're doing, bringing back the OG loot pool, the OG map. How many more times can I say OG? Like, they just brought back all the good stuff, and honestly, it's kind of hard for me to officially rank it because the season hasn't been over. We still have a solid probably 2.5 more weeks on this season, and a live event that just got leaked that's supposed to be super hype. Everything from this season, from the Battle Pass, Omega Rock, great tier 100, the map, the weapons, everyone's coming back to play the game. All the famous streamers, all my buddies are coming back to play the game. This is a god tier season. I can't deny it. I would feel bad putting it anywhere else. Of course, it's just a nostalgia talking, but you know what? It's my list, so I gotta put it in god tier. All right, and this is my tier list for every single Fortnite season. If you stay till the end, you're an absolute legend for that. This video was kind of a doozy, so I appreciate everyone who stayed till the end. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, helps me a ton, and I will absolutely see you in the next one.